I've never seen you guys perform, but what do you miss about performing? There were some shows that you guys have done, but I mean, do you guys get like that itch?
Man, like I said, 15 plus years, performing every weekend and, multiple times during the week sometimes too. And for it to just come to a sudden halt, just, it was a big eye opener to, there were times where like, oh man, I don't want to go play today. I just want to stay at home and watch Netflix or something. But now, man, no, dude, like I miss it, man. I miss interacting with the people. I miss talking with the people after we perform, talking about the music they like listening to, talking about other bands that they've heard live, talking about, just shooting the shit with people, man. Yeah. I miss that, I miss being around people who just love music, who show up to a show just to hear music and dance. And we were able to make them dance, and I don't know, that was just one thing that I guess I truly missed.
And then for you, Eric, now you got the label that you're starting there. Can you go into just how that came about and how that's going?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all come from being a part of different labels, seeing all the different ways of doing things and putting out music. And like, I think now we're all living in a day and age where it's like a DIY kind of thing, you know what I mean? Before, back in the day, like you'd have to go to the studio, you'd have to get signed by a label, you'd have to kind of have these contracts and have to abide by certain, criterias to like put out music. And now it's just it's a beautiful situation where we're all making music, we're recording our own music, and we're able to like cater to the sound we're looking for, and kind of like, really like just like really like go for the sound we want, you know what I mean? It's not we're creating the sound we want. And so I've been recording for a long time, and we've been trying to get into the studio and like just kind of create these little demos, and like from the demos it starts developing into a tune, and I think it's been a whole development process. But I think the whole DIY of like, okay, we're gonna record our own songs, we're gonna press our own records, we're gonna ship our own records, you know what I mean? We're gonna hand deliver these records, and like we're gonna curtail every detail of this situation. It's amazing, because like I would have 5 years ago, it just seemed like kind of far-fetched, and now that we're doing it, it just feels like right. It feels like the right time to do it, No, yeah, it's a lot more work involved, because you definitely have to wear more hats than just being a musician and just being a songwriter. We're getting into the business aspect of pushing out music, And like, it's also growing pains too. I mean, when we were young, like we didn't think about those things. We just wanted to play, we just wanted to perform. Like, oh, you want to put out a record? Like, yeah, sure, put out a record. You know what I mean?
Sorry, guys.
But now it's awesome that we're able to do that. And I think it's just that it's the time. It's the sign of the times that we're able to like have the ability to do this, and we learn how to do this, And it was all fun for me and for the band. It's like, hey, we're gonna put this record out on our own, and like, and it's kind of like gives you like this pride, like, hey, I did this from the beginning, from the get-go, from sitting around the piano and writing the song, to recording the song, to designing the label, to pressing it, to shipping it, to stamping it, to seeing like people like share it on Instagram, say, hey, I got my record in Indonesia. It's like it's definitely another pride that I never knew existed from a musician, like engineer even standpoint. I that was just a different aspect that I feel like we're now able to enjoy. And like, yeah, it's definitely a high. It's like definitely a high. I got to talk a little bit to Jason Joshua after we pushed that record out. He's from Mango Hill, and he actually gave me a lot of great advice and a lot of like little insights of wisdom on how to like, go about this, you know what I mean? So a big shout out to him. And yeah, and then he called me right after the record sold out, like around 12 noon. He's like, hey, congratulations, man, and like, that's awesome, dude.
Sorry,
And
I had to run out on
was
you.
and I was telling, I was like, dude, like, man, that was a crazy rush, man. Like seeing these records fly and like just the response. It was like being on stage or something. It was a crazy high or rush that I can't explain. And I just feel like, he's like, yeah, man. I was like, I'm addicted to that, I'm addicted to that high. And it's funny because he's putting out records left and right now, you know what I mean? So yeah, big love to the Mango family. But like, yeah, it's definitely something that we're all really invested in, you know what I mean? Putting out our own record, producing it, sitting around and mixing it together and like writing it together. It's a beautiful thing to experience as a group, that I don't think we ever had before. So it's a new experience for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely want to touch on that. I think what's really powerful is you taking it in your own hands, because a lot of the times, you're like that band, like a in a way like a puppy dog. You're kind of like sitting there like, please label love me, right? But
Right.
you know in your heart that this music is good, and you don't need to wait for some producer to kind of like acknowledge that it's good and then put the money into it. You guys can go do it yourself, and I like that approach, because there's so many bands that out there that like I've seen just that never really made it, or, they're great and I would support them, but there's no label out there that maybe they fit that box. So I love that you kind of taking that approach, like, hey, I'm going to take this by the reins, I'm going to do it myself. And then as far as for, Mango Hill, Jason Joshua, I could definitely see that being a rush for you, because for him, just looking at the outside again, he's putting together, he's finding groups, he's putting, investing his time and money, I'm sure, into these groups, and then seeing other people buy this product or buy their music and get into that band. I mean, that's a huge rush, because in his heart, he probably feels like, hey, you see or hear what I hear, it's like we share that same emotion on that specific band, so I think that's really cool. So is that the next step, is once you guys, I mean, obviously you guys are on liftoff stage and you guys are gonna hit the stars, but is it eventually to maybe find some of these other groups around your area and kind of groom some of the groups to be similar to what you guys are doing?
For sure. I mean, the Illusions, a lot of the members in Illusions are like my go-to musicians. I like to think of them like kind of like as the house band in a sense. Tony's like my right arm and all this stuff. So like, yeah, that's the next step too, is like maybe producing other artists and putting out new music, and just kind of continuing to grow in this community. Like we have so much talent that we're surrounded by. It's just like, it's like a shame not to try to share that talent and with our abilities, you know what I mean? And yeah, those are all things we're all looking at very soon too. Collectively and individually, I mean, we all want to work together, you know what I mean? We all get excited when we see another artist or band put out their music, and we see a lot of people sharing the recording studio together, and that's going to be happening a lot more together. But yeah, that's you should see more of that happening this coming year.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. And there's a lot of talented singers out there, there's a lot of talented musicians, but they just don't have that avenue. So if you're out there actively seeking, and you get the right singers, for other projects and stuff like that, I mean, it could be lucrative, like that business is lucrative. There's a lot of stars out there that are just need the musicians, and I think that for Tony and for you guys as a whole, you guys are able to write the music, and that's just a hard thing to do. And for all the songs that you guys have written, like some of the other stuff I've heard, I mean, they're hit songs. They're hit songs, you know what I mean? Like they're not like a whatever song, I feel like the songs that you've written for the Illusions, the other stuff that you've done in other bands, all that experience, yeah, man, you guys have something very special. And I'm sure that any musician that watches this, they should definitely be hitting you guys up to get the musicians that you guys have on their track.
Yeah, and I always just want to encourage everybody out there. I mean, like, it's hard to have your own label, it's hard to have your own band, it's hard to do all those things, but like there's a big reward in it, you know what I mean? So it's all achievable. I think it's just hard work is just it pays off, you know what I mean? Everyone's been working hard, we've all been putting in the work, and that I think anybody can do it. Just you have to really just strive for it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's instead of, like you said, like waiting around for someone to pick you up and put your stuff out there. Put your stuff out there. That's what I say. Like, and that's what we're doing. Is like, hey, we're putting out our own stuff. You know, we're recording our own stuff. And it's a DIY situation here. We're like stoked on it. You know.
So this is shocking news. There's a ghostwriter in the band named David Reyes, and can you tell us a little bit about him?
We have visions for the songs. You know, we're really inspired by the Philadelphia sound, the Gamble and Huff, Kenny Gamble, and a lot of the stuff, you know, like the Delphonics, the Stylistics, and all those groups that came from, you know, Philadelphia. They had orchestras in the background, you know, straight up orchestras. It wasn't just a two-piece horn section or a small brass section. They had straight up orchestras, and we were able to link up with David Reyes, who is an orchestral arranger, composer, and he's also very educated in soul music. So for him to be part of this team too is really a big thing for us, and that's how we're able to get that sound across, and that's how we're able to put music that we love out.
I think that's huge because there's no group right now, or I think solo artist right now, that has an edge like that. Because that's one thing that when you do hear the oldies from back in the day, you do hear like that orchestra sound.
Yeah.
And that's what really gets the tear jerks, right? Like the tear jerk, the reaction, like the real, because when you hear those strings and you hear like that all, you know, that orchestra together, it just kind of really brings everything like even fuller. So that's a huge advantage. And this is just in the future now, we're going to be working with him on every single song or just certain songs?
I think when appropriate. I mean, not all songs are going to take that orchestra, right, or that type of arrangement. You know, like once in a lifetime, that was his arrangements for the horns, and it was a baritone and the sax and a trumpet, right? And that one. And we have a new tune coming out soon. It's called Baby Don't Waste My Time, in parentheses. And it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be like a Delphonics throwback, you know what I mean? That style. It's gonna be a big production, and we're excited because, like, you know, it's gonna be something different for a lot of the soul lovers out there right now that, you know, maybe it's not really getting put out too frequently right now. You know, I know there's some string arrangements in some of the newer songs, but this is gonna be a big production, and we're excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's huge. I mean, that's a really big deal, because not everybody has access to something like that, you know, or someone that could just do that. I know, like, you know, like Beatles albums, you know, like, you know, Led Zeppelin albums, all those guys use those big, you know, arrangements, a big orchestra, and it really bring like the song to the next level where, you know, people really, those are the most memorable songs when those type of, you know, orchestra comes in, you know. So I'm super excited for that. That's huge news.
Yeah, and I think we're all excited too, because it's something new to us too. Like to be able to work with someone like David, and to work with like a string section, a bigger horn section. It's something we always dreamed about, and now it's like it's about dreaming big and going big. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's something I think we imagined as kids or like growing up, and now that it's happening, you know, it's like it's crazy. It's crazy. For sure. The
music that the Illusions have, it's awesome. It's been selling like crazy off the shelves. They can't even put their phone down. It's already gone the moment that they release it. But there's new music coming out. So what music should we be looking for from the Illusions?
Yeah, we have a record probably coming out, I want to say like by May, hopefully, with the pressing plants. New record single will be called Baby Don't, and then it'll be a hot B-side. It's gonna be one of those deep cut covers like we usually do, and I think everyone's gonna be excited about that. So be on the lookout for that, coming off of Blackbird Records.
Awesome. So I definitely want to thank the Illusions again for joining me on Universal Groove. Thank you again. We'll see you soon.
Hey, thanks for having us, man.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for everyone watching.
Strong enough to change.